Hey Pop Rockers, Paul here with you. Hey, I recently sat down with Kav Temperley, the lead singer of Eskimo Joe, and we spoke about his solo project. He's just released his second solo album, Machines of Love and Grace, and he has released a couple of singles from that. And we spoke about two of his singles, Graduation Day, and his latest single, The Last of the Wine. We'll put them at the end of the interview, so stick around, watch the videos, enjoy his music, and if you like Australian music and you want us to build more content around Australian music, don't forget to subscribe, press that little notification bell, and get notified every time we release some new videos. But in the meantime, Kav Temperley, lead singer of Eskimo Joe, his solo project, right away. Enjoy. Hey Kav, how are you today?
I'm very well. Thanks for having us.
No, that's all right. So we've got you here. We're talking about your new single, Last of the Wine, off your upcoming second album, I believe, Machines of Love and Grace.
That's right. Yeah, it comes out in just over a week now, so it's pretty exciting.
Yep. So are you doing any shows or any tours to promote your song and your album in the next couple of weeks, or are you still busy doing other things?
Well, I just got off the road doing an extensive regional tour, which was really fun because that was the first time I've been out, into the country and played a lot of these regions for like maybe 5 years or something. So obviously post-COVID, so everyone was just kind of getting out of their pajamas for the first time in a long time. It was amazing just reinvigorating that fan base. And then once I finished that, I had to jump straight onto an Eskies tour, which is just finishing up this weekend. And it's we're playing two albums that are really important to us, called A Songs of the City and Black Fingernails Red Wine. And we've been playing them in full, which has been great. And then obviously we got Christmas and all those things. And then early next year, once the album's out, I'll hit the road doing cities, playing my solo stuff. So that's basically how it's rolling.
Oh, cool. So I've listened to a few of the songs, and there seems to be a bit of a theme going with Graduation Day and Last of the Wine. Is there any specific inspiration behind the songs that you, or is it just come natural when you wrote the songs?
Probably a bit of column A, a bit of column B. Sometimes you don't know what you're writing until you've written it. So I ended up writing the opening track to the album last because I sat down and realized that I'd written this kind of post-apocalyptic true story, which is, literally documenting the last, 2.5, 3 years of our lives. I love storytelling. I think, I would put a large emphasis on trying to tell the stories that are happening in front of me. I've always believed that, the simplest, most basic stories are just, sometimes the most interesting. So I just documented everything that went on over the last couple of years. And then, like I said, I finished by writing this song called Emergency in D minor, which kind of sets the tone of the whole album. And then you've got songs like Machines of Love and Grace, which kind of document a lot of the, elements that we went through, like extreme screen addiction and those kind of things.
Yep. I like the track Last of the Wine, but Graduation Day with Katie Steele, I just love that song. I can't get enough of it. How was that?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Oh, great. It was great because, with songs like Last of the Wine, that was kind of one of the first songs that I wrote at the beginning of the whole pandemic. But with Graduation Day, it was just as, we were allowed like maybe more than two people in a room. I'd been writing this record for a while and starting to kind of lose my mind because I was doing everything, I was down in the trenches, playing all the instruments, writing everything, producing it, engineering it, so in this studio that you can see behind me. And so eventually I called Katie because she'd moved back to Perth after living away for a long time. And me and Katie have a very long history of knowing each other for a long time. And I just basically said, what are you doing, buddy? Do you want to come and help me finish this song off? And I kind of had the first verse and chorus. And so we sat down and workshopped the second verse together and the bridge. And by the end of the day, we had this, wonderful song. And Katie was really heavily pregnant while she was doing the vocals, but
Yeah.
God, her voice is better than it ever has been. So
Yeah.
it was just an absolute pleasure.
Because I had it on my notes to talk to you about how natural you guys sounded and looked together. So obviously with that history of over the years, it worked out really
well. She was kind of hanging around when we had this jam room. Around about weird sound coming up. Oh, there we go. It's back again. She was kind of hanging around. Around about 2004, we had this great jam room just out of Fremantle, and we were the only people around who had a recording setup. So all of our friends' bands would just kind of hang around, and what developed out of that was this kind of production team, which was mainly Joel and another friend of ours, Andy Lawson, who's kind of he's still producing bands and doing stuff, and so is Joel. But we're all kind of hanging out, helping each other out, write each other's songs and record each other's demos. And Katie was there, and I was getting her to do a lot of, I was playing a lot of the songs that would become the album songs of the city acoustically, and I would get Katie to come and do harmonies and play a bit of piano, and I was trying to convince the other guys in the band. I was like, she's amazing. We should get her to play keyboard in Eskimo Joe, and luckily for her, at a certain point in time, she played us her songs, and they were just amazing. And that was the first Little Birdie songs. And I was like, don't join our band, go form your own band. So they did the demos for Little Birdie in that same shed, and the band got signed. And the next thing you know, we were all on tour together, and the rest is history.
Into bad habit. I'm sick of talking to your friends just because I once had you. You can look once, you can never look twice. You know it's just a piece of a broken paradise, but I can't get over you. Remember when we used to stop the traffic on the bridge on graduation day? The only thing that ever changed was the way you went away, and I just stayed the same.
The music industry and the music, the people involved in music in WA and around Australia. I've been finding out just recently and talking to different people. It's such a creative bunch of people we've got a huge talent.
I think so. I mean, Australia is so isolated to the rest of the world, and Perth, where we live, is super isolated to everywhere else. And so there's always been a bit of a do-it-yourself attitude, and also, really scenes explode when there's a really great community happening, and that's really what happened with us around in 2004, 2005. And I think you can still see it happening now with different music scenes all over Australia. As soon as there's, a couple of bands all doing it, all the bands seem to get better because they all kind of help each other out and pay it forward.
How are you finding it now that everyone's coming out of lockdown? We've got all these creatives that were locked up for so long, writing, producing, and now releasing all this music. What I'm finding and seeing is a lot of people trying to release all music to the same audience. Do you see that, feel that, or you?
Look, I think I don't know if this answers your question, but kudos to people like yourself for doing what you do, because music really needs people to hold it up to the place where it should be. You see a million billboards for every Netflix series that comes out, but to try and get someone to play music at the moment is impossible. But yet we need it. We always rely on our musicians when we're going through stuff, any kind of crisis, to either help express what we're going through or get up there and do a big benefit concert for everybody. So I think music is super important, and you're absolutely right. All of our creatives have just sat down, everyone from Taylor Swift to, I don't know, most indie bands have sat down and created music through this lockdown, and now it's all coming out, And I think the really tricky thing is you know, how do you make sure these people can keep doing it? Because at the moment it seems to be a passion project for everyone. For the people who are die hard, cannot do anything else but put their music out because otherwise they will die on the inside.
Yep.
People like myself will keep doing it no matter what, but it's an expensive thing to do, and records don't sell anymore, so it's really hard to find out how these really good artisan quality records are going to keep getting made. So we need people like yourself to keep promoting it. We need audiences to keep going and buying tickets to shows and finally get out of their pajamas and, you know, and go back and watch some live music again.
Yeah.
And hopefully these artists will keep making more records because, you know, I'm sure we're still to see some great music.
Yeah, I was speaking to Jess and James from a band over in Wollongong last week. The band was Pero, and this question came up about, you know, releasing the music and what have you. But on the ARIA charts, there's a couple of songs there that have been there for nearly 2 years.
You're right. Yeah,
and I'm just struggling to come to terms with how can we, you know, how can people get their music out and get it out and about? Because we're stuck with these streaming services that, you know, like you said, and with the, like Netflix and things like that, they just tunnel the same stuff over and over and over again.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to go too much into a deep dive of, you know, the gatekeepers of the industry, but you know, unfortunately, it's always been the way that, you know, if you've got money, you can promote what you're doing, and you'll get it in front of people. And Spotify, which is meant to be this great autonomous, you know, situation where anyone can upload their music, is exactly the same. You know, we rely on so many streams to make any money out of streaming services. And the only way to get those streams is to get on huge playlists. And the only way to get on huge playlists is, unfortunately, pay the dollars. And it's the way it's always been, you know, like DJs back in the day, you know, you had to go give them literally some cash money, and then they'd play your song on their favorite show. And the way to do that is to have a big company behind you who pushes a big red button. So, you know, for a lot of artists, that's a tricky scenario. And it's funny how nothing changes, you know. And but the unfortunate thing is, you know, at least in the 70s and the 80s and some of the 90s, you know, that you could sell records and make some actual money out of it. Like, music as a commodity was a higher thing. I don't believe that anyone is ever going to be less creative or bring out new, like there's always going to be a new Kurt Cobain who comes along, who blows our mind and makes us want to consume everything that they do, which, you know, music is this great mystery. You never know the answer, and you just keep having these great artists who come and entice you further into the mystery. That'll never stop. But how we monetize these things and make money out of it is the big question. I mean, for instance, as part of my record that I'm putting out, I'm doing a run of NFTs, and people who don't know what NFTs are, they're attached to cryptocurrency, which all sounds very dangerous and Wild West, and it probably is. But what I believe is that, you know, you should always be presenting art. So what I've done is I've presented these. I'm going to drop these NFTs in November. We're going to do like an art exhibition scenario for them, and you can buy them online. And what they are is I've written this song 7 times, and it's called Love in the Key of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you can buy it. There's like really rare ones. They're like digital collectibles. So there's really rare ones, and then there's like 1 of 1,000s as well. And I've rewritten the same song 7 times in the different keys, and each stylistically they're kind of completely different songs. Like they're different recordings, but the songwriting is kind of the same. And look, if they sell, if everyone buys one of them, that will actually pay for my record, and that will hopefully pay for what I do in the future, because I'm not going to rely on people streaming my song to make that money. And look, if I manage to get out and play some shows, great, and that'll hopefully keep the machine going as well. But again, people aren't buying tickets either because of the post-COVID thing. So I don't know if the whole NFT market could be a way for musicians to take back some ownership of their songs and make some money. But it is the Wild West. But let's face it, music has always been an outlier. So let's continue down that path.
Well, you've got to try something new. You've got to be innovative, as I say, and get ahead. But in looking ahead with NFTs and things like that, have you thought about releasing any tracks on vinyl? Because vinyl's making a bit of a comeback.
100%. In fact, I was just having this conversation yesterday. I did release my last record on vinyl, and that's all sold out now because people love buying it as a physical collectible.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, like people like myself, I buy vinyl. I listen to vinyl at home because it just sounds amazing compared to the shitty sound you get from a streaming service. So yeah, I will 100% be putting it onto vinyl. There's a really big backlog of vinyl because of once again COVID. So a lot of people have been waiting a long time. So my vinyl won't come out with the album release. I'll put it out when I start touring the record in February, March, and at that point is when it'll be in all of your JB Hi-Fis, those kinds of places, and you'll be able to buy it online, and also I'll sell it at the shows as well.
Yeah, because Fremantle's got a couple of good record shops in Fremantle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bill's Record Bar is great, but the Record Finder is just fantastic. If you're a hardcore vinyl nut, then you'd love the Record Finder because this guy is he's got everything, man. It's just this crazy like backlog of all of this, records that aren't printed anymore. It's amazing.
I actually tracked down the Cockroaches 12-inch single in Fremantle about 2 weeks ago. And
that would have probably been from the Record Finder, yeah.
Yeah, and it's I tell everyone, hey, I've got this record, and people don't believe me. They say, who's Cockroaches? I'm like, hey, the Wiggles.
It's the Wiggles, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're getting almost time. We've got to start winding it up. Thank you very much for coming and getting online and having a chat with us.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping to head down on Friday to see you guys in Fremantle.
Saturday, I believe it is.
Saturday, yeah. Right, end of the week. Anyway, I'm going to head down and, get
fantastic.
Some things and support.
Awesome. Well, once again, thanks for doing what you do and supporting artists, and hopefully we'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, you will definitely see me in the crowd jumping up and down and going crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks for the chat. Cheers.
No, thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
I drank the last of the wine just to keep this feeling inside. I've never been in love like this before. I'll never want the night to ever end. And I don't know why I close my eyes, but every time I kiss you I'm surprised. I never thought that I would be the one to stay instead of trying to run. You know I used to always jump the shadows, but tonight I'm alright. Are you alright too? And I fantasize, but I'm with you. I'm with you. When I met you, I woke from sleep. You hit me like a car on a busy street. They took me to emergency. I told them that I wanna see the scars. I'll give you one last goodbye and tell my mother I was brave when I died. I never thought that I would be the one to stay instead of trying to run. You know I used to always jump the shadows, but tonight I'm alright. Are you alright too? And I fantasize that I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm tonight.